In this module, I now want to give you an introduction to how you can send emails from inside your Node application. Obviously, sending emails is a crucial task in many web applications. And in our website here, we could want to send an email after a user signed up, for example, to confirm the sign up, something like that. Now for that, I will show you how that works, what sending emails in a Node application actually means, and which part Node.js and Express.js play in that big picture. And we'll then implement it. We'll then implement a package that helps us sending emails, and we'll send an email upon successful sign up. So let's work on this in this module. So how does sending mails work? Well, we obviously got our Node server with our code, and we got our user, and we want to send an email to that user. Now, it's super important to understand, and a common misconception, that Node and Express.js, these are languages or frameworks, runtimes, that we use for writing our server-side logic. But with Node.js, you can't trivially create a mailing server. Handling mails is totally different to handling incoming requests and responses. It's a totally different technology. Something totally different happens behind the scenes. Therefore, in reality, you will very likely never implement your own mail server, because that is a very complex task. Creating a mail server that is capable of handling thousands or 100,000 of emails at the same time, sending them and so on, security, all that stuff is highly complex. So in reality, you typically use third-party mail servers for that. And that is exactly what we will do in this module too, but I will show you how to interact with such a service to send an email through that service. And by the way, all major web applications you might be interacting with, including Udemy, don't have their own mail servers. They are using third-party providers like AWS or whatever it is for sending emails. So that is exactly what we will do in this module too. So in this course, I will use SendGrid. You find it on sendgrid.com. And I'll use it because they have a free entry tier, which stays free as long as you send less than 100 emails a day. Now, there are many alternatives, MailChimp, AWS, SES, and you can Google for Node mailing and your favorite mailing service to find tutorials on how to implement it. Now, I will use this one because we can use it for free. So let's click try for free, and then we simply have to create an account there. Now, once you did sign up, you can quit that page here and go back to your Node project. And there we'll now install a package. I'll install a package with npm install -- save, which is called Node Mailer. And to interact with SendGrid, I'll also install another package in the same go, Node Mailer -SendGrid transport. That is a package that will help us with integrating SendGrid and conveniently use that together with Node Mailer. Node Mailer is a package that, as the name suggests, makes sending emails from inside Node.js a breeze. With that all added, we can move on to the next lecture and now start using Node Mailer to send messages. So let me start that server again and let's continue in the next lecture. I added Node Mailer, and now I want to use Node Mailer to send an email. For that, in my off.js file, which is the only file where I will interact with it, I will import Node Mailer and store it in a constant at the top. So require Node Mailer like this. And I will also import SendGrid transport. You can name these constants the way you want, as always. And this will import Node Mailer SendGrid transport. With that imported, I can initialize a couple of things here. For Node Mailer, we need to initialize a so-called transporter. So that is essentially some setup telling Node Mailer how your emails will be delivered, because as I mentioned, Node.js won't do this on its own. You need some third-party service for that. So here I will use Node Mailer and then call the create transport method. In create transport, we can now pass SendGrid transport and execute this as a function, because this function will then return a configuration that Node Mailer can use to use SendGrid. Now to that SendGrid transport function, we pass an object where we pass an auth object. And this in turn holds an object where we have to pass in an API user and an API key field. Now both are values you get from inside your SendGrid account. So if you head back to your SendGrid account, you can click on settings here and then API keys, and there create a new API key. You want to give that a name, and I'll name it Node Shop. The name is totally up to you. And I'll take full access and create this. Now take that key, and you actually only need that key. You could have used your username and password, but I'll just use the API key. So just that key which you copied here. Of course, use your own key, not mine. And with that, you configured the transporter. Now, with the transporter configured, you can now use it to send an email. And I want to send an email after signing up, let's say. So in post sign up, once I'm done. So here, when I also redirect back to the login page, here I want to send my message. And I use the transporter for that. And then there is a send mail method we can execute. To that method, you pass a JavaScript object where you configure the email you want to send. For example, the to field, so to whom this should go. Well, it should go to our email address, of course. From, so which email address will be displayed. And here I will have shop@nodecomplete.com, let's say. Then a subject, sign up succeeded, and then HTML content, so the content of your message. Now you could have a complex HTML message. I'll just add a h1 tag here. You successfully signed up, like that. So this is the message I want to send. Now send mail then gives me a promise, so I can use a then and catch, or of course I simply return that and then I redirect in the next then block, so once the email has been sent. However, that is up to you. You could also redirect immediately and not wait for this to be sent, because you're not really relying on that being sent. And so this will send, and at the same time, you redirect. So whatever you want. What you should do, though, is if that is your plan, you might want to switch positions here and still return that so that you can still catch any errors that are stemming from this. So that here we could still log any errors we might be getting, or do something else with these errors, of course. With this setup added, let's give it a try. Let's head over and sign up, and now you should use a real email address, of course, otherwise it can't arrive. Click sign up here. I'm redirected, and now check your email account. And in that email account, you should have an email from shop@nodecomplete.com with that message. If you don't get it, verify you entered the correct email, and also feel free to verify your SendGrid email. You should have gotten an email from SendGrid when signing up. Verify your email address there. But with that, this should work, and you should be able to send emails like this. Now, dive into the official SendGrid docs and also in the Node Mailer docs if you want to learn way more about what you can do there. Also, as I mentioned, Google for Node Mailer and your favorite emailing service if you want to use a different one. But this is the general theme of how this works. So in this module, I showed you how to send mails with Node Mailer, and in this case, the SendGrid third-party service. Now, one thing I also want to highlight is the way we send an email here works for our app. And it's good that we don't block the redirect, but that we redirect and send the mail at the same time. Because if you have an application with a lot of requests and you would wait for the email to be sent before you redirect, you might slow down your application because you're sending a lot of emails. Now, depending on the size of your app, and now we're talking about really huge apps, You could also look into totally different approaches where you have some server-side scripts running every X hours or every X minutes that send emails to newly signed up users. Now, this will only matter from a certain scale of app on, and there you have different problems anyways. But I just want to highlight that you should strongly consider not using this in a blocking way, because if you wait for this to be finished, this can be slow, and you have to evaluate if it's worth waiting for this or if your user can continue even without that mail being delivered. Now with that, you learned how to send mails, not that difficult as you can tell. Now let's use that knowledge in the next module and enhance our authentication process or our authentication features we offer.